Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to change the world one starfish or one person at a time. As always, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, follow, all of the stuff. I'm excited for our guest today. It's a good friend of mine, Kelsey Meyer. We've become friends over the last little bit through Arte. She runs a preschool, which I admire. I was babysitting kids the other day. She has 4 boys and I was looking after 3. So actually, I'd really admire you on a different scale right now. Fitness, health, and mindset coach. That's where her passion is, has been her passion for 10 years, but she actually finally started to make it her business about 1.5 years ago. So welcome to the show, Kelsey.
Hey, thanks, Angela. It's a pleasure to be here. So yeah, let's get this thing started.
I love it. So let's start back to what got you into, you said it's been a passion. So what made the switch after 8 years to actually get into running your passion into a business? What helped you create that switch?
Yes. So I guess I thought that I could do it. Like, who's going to want to learn from me? What do I have to offer? I'm just this girl that has a passion for health and wellness and truly pushing people to be their best self. At the end of the day, did you empty out your entire cup? And so, as my children have gotten older, and yes, they are very much more active and into things, but as far as the needing their mom as much is definitely decreased. And so I've had a lot more time to really dive into the fitness, nutrition, mindset coaching portion of it, to where I feel like I can be of great service to others. So I guess that's kind of where it switched. And a lot of people would say, why aren't you doing this for a job? Or why aren't you're so good at what you do, and I'm like, and kind of embarrassed about it or whatever else. And then finally, I just decided one day that it doesn't matter and I'm going to do what makes me happy. And I don't want to continue going on in life without offering my services to make other people have a better life.
That's awesome. I love that. So what helped you build that self-belief that you were good enough and you could share this and you could charge for it and all of that kind of stuff? What helped you change that?
So, of course, we all still kind of have some of those limiting beliefs that you have to break through, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this year, 2022, I decided to start investing in myself, that we can't do this all on our own, right? So obviously I have a huge passion for the Lord and so on and so forth, but I needed some exterior peer coaching sort of stuff. So I invested in a business coach, Angela Goodman. And then
I also earlier, by the way, guys. Yeah.
Yes. And then I also reached out to a mindset coach person as well that helps coach me through things that I help coach others through. Right. And so that definitely has helped. I'm also in Arte. I was in it the previous year, but when your mindset is kind of shifted to I can't do these things or I'm not worthy of these things, you don't put into action what you're learning from others, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So I feel like a little bit of coaching from exterior peers and breaking through those inner limiting beliefs I had for myself is what really pushed me to, really blossom per se.
That's really awesome. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with that. I'm not worthy. I know I've definitely go through that or have gone through that and all the above. I'm not worthy. I'm not enough. I'm not so when you're coaching someone, what's some tangible ways that someone can start to switch that thinking? Because I feel like, especially with women, I'm going to say, but I'm sure it's both, really struggle with that. So what are some ways that they can work through that?
So them personally, I am statements are amazing. You hear, get a gratitude journal or write 3 things down that you're grateful for and so on and so forth. And even coaching some of my clients through this, in their check-in, what did you journal about? I didn't journal. I'm like, you don't need 15 minutes to write this stuff down. And I think that's what people think. like, oh, it's going to take so much time. And we all have our phones. We all have our phones in our hand. Usually we are at a stoplight. If you have to put 3 things in your notes of your phone that you're grateful for, it could be water, stoplights, and chewing bubble gum or something, you know? But consistently over time, as that becomes a habit, things in your life start to really change. And so finding people that lift you up and tell you those things, like, you are enough, Angela, you are worthy, you are, you know, you can do anything you want to do in this life, you know? And so I really think that that's what I really express to them is get rid of the negative verbiage, you know, stop. It's not easy. Definitely it's a choice that you make, and it's a process, you know. So it helps for sure to have someone in your corner there to help push you and coach you and whatever else. So, and a lot of times you don't realize the change in yourself, but everyone else does.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh, this is working, or oh, that is doing this, this, and this, you know? So yeah.
That's really cool. I love that. And what are some, so, you know, in the last, before you even got into that, so in the last 10 years, tell us a little bit about, you know, what got you into preschool. Tell us a little bit about Kelsey, like even like what got you here in the last couple of years for sure. But, you know, what got you, you know, you have 4 boys. How did you deal with that? How did you start to raise them? You started a preschool, you know, so you're doing it all, you know, you're having a family. I know you're really busy with your boys because you're always at games. You're running a business, you're running another business. How do you do it all? How do you balance your life?
So a lot of to-do list for sure. But it's definitely not been an easy journey. I always have been a go-getter per se. Everyone is like, if I did what you do by 6 o'clock in the morning, I would be tired. So I like to get up early and get moving and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, I'm not always like, woohoo, I rock this day. You know, sometimes I'm like, oh, I wasn't present for this or I didn't show up for that. So obviously, I'm not walking around perfect by no means. You know, we all have room for improvement in every area of life. But, you know, just being determined, knowing that we're given so many hours in a day and we all have the same amount of time in the day. It's what you do with those hours. So yes, I opened a preschool when we had twins first. I opened the preschool when they were about 1, had no idea what the hell I was doing. Did not think that it would still be open 14 years later. I intended once they went to school to not do that anymore. And in 2017, our home in my preschool center was in a F4 tornado. We were home, and the community came together because we had to rebuild my preschool. And so then here I am. Now I'm a preschool of 28. I have 7 staff. This year has been hard. I've stepped away from the preschool, so I'm not in the classroom anymore, and I'm a creature of habit. And so the change of not being in the classroom and what is my purpose and what's happening here? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And then I had an aha moment, honestly, about 3 weeks ago, of my purpose now with the preschool is to be of service to the parents and the staff. My girls that are at my preschool, my staff are amazing. I have led and mentored them. It's their turn to blossom into the teachers that I know they can become. And I'm there to mentor, raise them up, coach them in their mindset, that type of thing, while I am also pursuing the fitness, health, wellness on the side. And then I also get to pick up my boys from school and get to go to school for parties and all that. Used to, I had to find a sub to get to go to their stuff, or I never got to pick my kids up from school. So that's kind of how I got to where I am.
That's awesome. I love it. So You mentioned a few of the struggles and how you got through them. So tell us a little bit about your morning routine. How has that helped you? You mentioned you like mornings. I like mornings too. Tell me a little bit about a morning routine and how you feel like that kind of stuff that really helps go through the tougher times, I guess.
So being a mom of four, and a husband, so 5 kids pretty much, right?
Yep.
There's not a lot of downtime. There's not a lot of quiet time. So I have always, I don't want to say always, had a really good relationship with Jesus. And that's one of the main things that I do. I wake up in the morning and just have conversations with him. And that's another thing I like to teach people is that you don't have to be, I, I'm Catholic, so we pray the rosary. You don't have to pray the rosary. You don't have to pray these certain prayers. You can just wake up and have a conversation with him like he's your best friend. And so that's what I start my morning with, a daily devotion, so on and so forth. Do I miss it sometimes? The devotion, yes, whatever else. But then I just I usually do some laundry, do some chores so that whenever, and I get my workout in, by the time the kids wake up, it's about the kids. My stuff is finished. I've had 2 hours of time. And so then it's about the kids. And so then I can be present and so on and so forth. And people are like, how do you do that? And I'm like, well, how do you wake up at the same time as your kids? I don't understand how people function that way. I would be not a fun person to be around if I woke up at the exact same time my kids woke up. And so a lot of times I just challenge my clients to just get up 15 minutes earlier. And then by the end of the coaching season with me, they're like, that is such a game changer. Even 20 minutes before they wake up, because you have to fill up your cup with something that brings you joy and happiness. Not that your children don't or your job does not, but I just feel like it can take you to a whole different level. And if you don't have to be up till 9, you don't have to get up at 4 in the morning, get up at 8:30, So just those types of different things for sure.
That's awesome. And what are some of the things that you've had to overcome? Have you always had a very supportive family, always very supportive friends? Have you gone through people that have questioned what you've done? And if you have, how have you dealt with that?
Okay, so let's rewind to a long time ago. My mom, I come from a big family. I have a sister and 3 brothers, a mom and dad. My dad's a dentist. My mom was a lab tech, but then had so many children like me. So she was a stay-at-home mom, best stay-at-home mom in the world. But I guess I talked too much and asked too many questions because when I turned 5 in July and she sent me to kindergarten in August. Okay. I guess I should say my mom and dad did. And I was the youngest in the class, did kindergarten, went to first grade, and I struggled. All right. So I did not do well in school. I know it's first grade, but you can tell, if someone's gonna get it or not. And so I had to repeat first grade. And so, you carry that with you for a very long time. Like, oh, I'm in 5th grade, but I'm supposed to be in 6th grade. You repeat that. Or I'm the oldest in my class because I took first grade twice.
Right.
I'm a senior, but I could be a friend. It just carries with you. Okay. And then I get laughed at, but I have middle child syndrome. So, I always was very loud, wanted to be noticed and recognized and all those things because my gosh, I was the 3rd kid. You're kind of lost in the shuffle. Do people even know I'm here? Hello, I'm here, whatever else. But I've always been one to want to serve others. I want to serve them. I want to help them. I want to guide them, in the best that I can. So that definitely the roadblock of taking first grade twice, being the middle child, which people don't relate with if you're not the middle child. And then I had found out when I was married that I had polycystic ovarian syndrome, so we couldn't get pregnant, so on and so forth. overcame that. Then, while I was pregnant with our twins, we lost my mother-in-law instantly to a brain aneurysm. So we overcome that. And then, when my twins were born, they diagnosed one of them with cerebral palsy. Overcame that. He does not have cerebral palsy, but it was on insurance documents, doctor's documents, so on and so forth, lots of prayers, therapy, so on and so forth. And then let's see here. I did hair for 5 years, decided to open the preschool. Of course, you worry. No one's going to support you. What the hell's wrong with you? You don't know what you're doing, whatever else. Opened the preschool, then felt stuck. You kind of want to not do the preschool thing, but you're serving all these people and you feel stuck and this and that. So worked through that. Then the tornado happened and went through a very deep, dark depression, drank a lot, found out I had adrenal fatigue. I had depleted so many different things due to the stress and all that kind of stuff. Overcame that. Then this year in March, I thought I was dying and just kept it to myself, kept pushing. I mean, I was really going balls to the walls. I was getting up at 3 a.m. to train myself because at that time I was training some clients in person. So then I would train them and then I would do all the things all before 6 o'clock in the morning. I was studying for my personal training certification, still working at the preschool, whatever else. Well, then in May, I found out finally from a functional doctor that I had mono and Lyme's disease, and I had a very high exposure to mold. So, I mean, Angela, I was like falling asleep having conversations with people. My joints hurt, my body hurt. I couldn't even do a jumping jack, but I kept it all to myself because I wanted to be like the superwoman that nothing was wrong. I could do it all. And that's when I had to really take a step back and take care of myself and learn to just kind of chill sometimes. So I worked through that. And then this year also, we got some diagnoses about my mom. And so I really had to step back and start taking her to a lot of doctor's appointments and being there for her, which then caused a lot of turmoil, kind of, and animosity like at home, because I was still working full time at the preschool. I was still fitness coaching. I was married. I had 4 children. And so that was the moment that I said, I cannot keep working in the classroom. I have got to step away. You cannot control the situations all the time. These people can take care of this facility, so on and so forth. So as much as the year has sucked, it has also been fantastic all at the same time, if that makes sense.
Totally. No, I need you to back way up. So you talked about a lot of stuff and you started out with, you just kind of skipped through a lot of it. So you just said I overcame. So listeners are like, that sounds awesome.
Don't want to talk about
so
it.
You need to go way back and tell us, how did you overcome? So, you couldn't have children. That's a very common thing for a lot of women. And it's a very hard thing if you want kids. So you just said I overcame it. What did you do to overcome it? Because you have 4 kids now. So.
Right. And that's what I said to my doctor. I'm like, wait a minute here. I thought I wasn't supposed to be able to have kids. And she said to me, when you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, once you finally do get pregnant, your body then figures out what the heck to do. Because then I was fertile myrtle. It was like,
gotta watch it.
Took nothing.
You're gonna have like 12 kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you overcome it? So how did you get, what was a mindset shift? What was the physical shift?
So I definitely can't stand here and say that I struggled for 3 years to have children like people this day and age do. Back then it was like a 12-month struggle, which was not super duper common back then. It was kind of starting to get more common that women struggled to get pregnant. So I leaned into my faith, of course. That has definitely gotten me through. And every valley that I have stumbled upon, I've come out higher and higher on top of that mountain. And so that was something that kind of just kept me going every single day. I really poured into my career at that point. I was doing hair, and I didn't have children, and my husband traveled with work. And so I just worked a lot, and my clients were really my counselors that at that time, instead of me counseling them. And just keeping the hope that if it's meant to be, it will be, that type of stuff. So
I guess you could say physically, did you work on anything that way, or was it all just mental?
It was pretty much a mental thing, I've always been very much into health and fitness, if that's what you mean by
well, I know some people do they do shots, they do different things.
Oh, yes.
Change
so
hormones.
Yes. So my doctor did recommend Clomid and metformin. And so I did have to take that, and I would write it all out on I had index cards. I didn't lose those index cards until the tornado, but I kept that because it was part of our journey, like I had to do this every so many days. Every 20 days I had to go get blood work, and I have shitty veins. And so they would stick me 5 times before they would get my blood. But finally, I was so sick of the pressure from others that we just stopped all of the things, stopped the drugs, stopped anything, and just thought, I'm done. If God has his hand in this, it'll be fine. And 2 months later, we were pregnant. So the pressure from exterior can definitely really be challenging for you,
Yeah. And then you said, what was the next thing you overcame? Like you went through a lot of different things, and I was like, I need to be right.
I'm sorry.
So the next thing you said you overcame, I think, was, you finally had the kids that you wanted and started having that, which is awesome. And then your mother-in-law, I believe you said, got, passed away super suddenly.
We were moving her into a house, and literally on a Monday, she collapsed and had a brain aneurysm. And so we lost her. That was awful. But my mother lost her mother around the exact same age that Josh was, to a brain aneurysm. And so my mom and Josh could then relate there. And then I would ask my mom, like, do I talk about her? Did you want my dad to talk about your mom? Like those things, because
cool. So
they don't prepare you for.
So I want you guys to pay attention. Like I'm really trying to pull out the stuff that you're saying because people are not listening. So I'll know a lot of time because I know how I listen to podcasts. So, if something's happening in your life, like something like that, reach out to people that are going through the same thing or have been through the same thing and find out how they conquered it. So Kelsey reached out to her mom, who had dealt with almost the exact same thing. She got her husband to reach out to her mom and really connect on someone that had been through the same thing. So if you're dealing with something right now, who do you know that's conquered it or going through it with a positive attitude? And can you reach out to them? I don't care if they're on Facebook. I don't care if they're on Instagram. I don't care who they are. Reach out to them and ask for some help from someone that knows exactly what you're feeling as close as anyone can. So I really want people to pay attention to that. That's good. Sorry, had to interrupt.
Yes, absolutely. No, you're perfect. Because yeah, that's great for sure.
So you kind of got through that, and that was a really good way.
You're not given information on how to cope with a spouse that loses a parent.
No.
No. And so you just got to figure it out, and they don't talk about it. It's hard. So definitely, if you can find someone. And just like what I would ask my mom is, did you want dad to bring up your mom? Well, I wanted to keep the memories of her alive, or did you not want to talk about her? Was it worse when you talked about her? So it was kind of nice to have that feedback,
Yeah, totally. I think that's awesome. And then, and then you went through a tornado where a lot of stuff, obviously that was an act of universe, God, whatever, bigger than you, definitely not something you is in your control. Tornadoes are not in our control. And, that happened and that spun you into some dark times you mentioned, which is very open and vulnerable. So I want to touch on that. So you went into drinking, kind of tell us a little bit about, like, if you're okay with it, tell us a little bit about, why you went into drinking and then how that seemed to help and then how you were able, and try to be as tangible as possible. Really think back to how are you able to conquer that and get through that? Because I believe a lot of people turn to external substances or people or things for fulfillment when they're going through a hard time. And that's, I believe, natural. But how do you get over that so that, because it's not necessarily healthy?
Correct. So, let's see here. I will tell you that that year of my life, I have to ask like my best friend Tijan that she can remind me of more things that I did or said or actions because you're in a state of shock. And yes, it's something that happened, but it's like you replay it in your mind and it's not even the 10 seconds of the tornado portion of it. It's the smells, the sounds, the sights, the thought, like that type of stuff that you relive. And we survived, which was fantastic because it was a F4 tornado. We were home, our whole neighborhood was destroyed. And so, you feel very, what's the word I'm looking for here? Violated because the next day you show up, well, you try to get back to your house and the community was there helping. It's amazing, but they're walking through your house and like looking at whatever is left and touching your things and, that type of stuff. And so you're like bitter and angry and frustrated, whatever else. And so we were renting a home, which was not near anything. We had one set of neighbors that, thank God, we did know and love and care for. But it was very lonely. The boys, were going through their stuff as well. And I might get emotional. So let's see here. My husband would be in town working a lot on the house, because we had to bulldoze what was left down and, refigure out what the hell we were going to do. And insurance is a crazy thing. You have only so long to get your house rebuilt. And when you live in a small town and a big part of the community is wiped out, the contractors are low to find, whatever. So back to how I got through it. So I would get home from work. And at that time, the preschool really kept me through, or else I probably would have never got up off the couch. I had to go somewhere and serve people. And so I would go to work and then come home. And the minute I came home, I grabbed a beer. And Angela, I didn't get like blackout wasted, but I just drank a lot more than normal. And so I would get a beer, whatever else. We never really cooked for that whole year. I never really kept that house clean because it wasn't my house. I was bitter about it. And I would go to the couch and pretty much sleep and sleep and sleep. And it wasn't until about 6 that I was like, get your head out of your ass, whatever else. I have 2 amazing devotions that I still go back to because it got me through those times. And guess what else? At 6 months, I started exercising again because I had to start doing things that were familiar to me in my schedule and a little bit of normalcy for myself. And so, I mean, when I talk fitness, it's so much more than getting some muscles, getting in shape, whatever else. A lot of people that are in dark times if you reach out to me or you step into a gym or whatever else, and I know you may be uncomfortable there because it's out of your comfort zone, but you can learn so much about yourself in an area like that, and you can really figure out your worth from fitness and exercise. So that really spiraled me out of it, per se.
That's awesome. So, if you're listening to this and you're going through a tough time and all that kind of stuff, what's one thing that can get you back into your routine before the tough time? If you're going through, a relationship breakup or a job loss or, all of that kind of stuff. Like Kelsey said, I know the gym, the working out, I think it is a big thing. And now that I'm into it a little bit, I guess, I feel that. Or like, what can you do to get up in the morning? Maybe it's reading, maybe it's audio, maybe it's something. What can you do to start to like go back to who you were before? Or if you weren't that person before, the person that you want to become. And just a little bit at a time toward, and then it'll start to kind of shift as you go there, which is really awesome. So I just love that. Very, very cool. So in wrapping up, I always ask my people 3 final questions, and then anything that, you just think our listeners need to have that we didn't maybe talk about. And I'd always, guys, make sure to, find Kelsey if you have some questions. We'll have all our Instagram or, all the stuff in the show notes. Make sure to reach out to her. Definitely. I know she'd be happy to hear from you. So first final question is, if someone's looking for their purpose, what's one sentence you would say to help them find it?
Angela. Okay. I feel like I'm going to pull an Ed Milet right here.
I like it. Yeah.
And tell them, let me tell you about you, and fill them in on what I know about them. And let me just kind of tell you about you. And then I'm pretty sure once I'm done telling you about you, you will hopefully have an idea of what your purpose is.
So for those of you who don't listen to Ed, basically, and you can do this for yourself, like sit down with yourself and, or higher power and let someone tell you about you, like what is good about you, like really finding what's good about you. And you can do that is what Kelsey's, I believe, mentioning. You can do that for yourself too. Like write down, like, what are the things that are awesome about you? And that sometimes it's going to be hard for you to do, or ask someone, what's something good about me? And really stepping into that. That's kind of what you mean as far as that goes, right, Kelsey? Okay,
yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
And I love
absolutely.
it. Number 2 question, and I'm sure you have lots, but what comes to mind? What's your favorite quote and why?
God is greater than your highs and your lows. And that came, it's in the Bible. I have it tattooed on my wrist. It's on my necklace, whatever else, because no matter what high or high you're on, or low you're at, he is still greater, right? So when you've reached what you think is the top of the world, he is still there. He is still greater than that. And when you've hit your darkest valley at any point, he is still there and he is greater than that. And like I have stated before, the valleys are there for you to reach your mountains. And when someone goes through the valley, they are definitely going to come out better when they get out of that valley.
I love that. The valleys are there to help you reach your mountains. That's a quote right there. I love that. Final question is, what's one word or sentence you would like on your gravestone?
Man, you didn't warn me about these.
How do you want to be remembered?
Well, this isn't the sentence, but I try to live my days with knowing of the legacy that I want to leave behind to others. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So
what do you want to be remembered for? Basically, it's a pretty simple. What do you want people to say about Kelsey?
I would hope that people would say that no matter who you are, where you're at, or what you're going through, I will be there for you at any point. I will do what I can to support you, guide you, and be your biggest cheerleader in the good times and in the bad.
There you go. I love it. And if you run into anyone at a coffee shop and they're like, "Hey, Kelsey, that was awesome. I listened to it. Was there something that we missed talking about today that you just think would be really impactful for somebody?"
Um,
What do you want to leave our listeners with?
for me,
Yeah, what do you want to leave our listeners with?
I want them to know that I think I said it in the beginning. Every one of you are worthy. Every one of you are loved. Every one of you are enough. Every one of you are capable. Every every one of you can do hard things. And I hope that you know that.
Love that. Every one of you are capable. Thank you so much for being on, Kelsey. Like I said at the beginning, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share, reach out to Kelsey, and let's go out there. Let's change one starfish or one person's life at a time. And if we can change one person's life at a time together, we can change the world. Thanks again for being on.
Thanks, Angela.